Welcome back to Simplifying AI. Let me start this time with a question. Do you remember the first time you drove a car by yourself? Not with an instructor in the passenger seat, not with your mom or dad white-knuckling the door handle, just you. I remember it felt like the car was too big and the road was too small. But then, at some point over the next few months, something changed. We stopped thinking about our feet. We stopped narrating every turn in our head. Driving went from a thing we were doing to a thing we just did. And nobody handed you that. You didn't read your way into it. You drove your way into it. And that's today's whole episode, because using AI well isn't really about just knowing the tools. It's also about how you think while you use them. And that turns out to be the part almost nobody talks about. So let's talk about it right after everyone's AI news. This is the part of the show I call Everyone's AI News, where I pick a couple news items that actually matter for normal people living normal lives who want to use AI ethically and efficiently. Number one, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, rolled out something new this week called ChatGPT Work. Here's the plain version. Up to now, you ask ChatGPT a question, it answers, and it stops. Or you have to understand how to build the engineering type systems, what are sometimes called harnesses. But ChatGPT Work is different. You give it a bigger, multi-step job, and it goes off and does it. It can pull information from your different apps and build you the finished thing or product, a document, a slide deck, a spreadsheet. In OpenAI's own words on their post titled ChatGPT is now a partner for your most ambitious work, it can stick with a complex project for hours, breaking it into smaller steps on its own. And it started rolling out this week in Mac and Windows apps. So hold on to that idea, an AI that runs on its own for hours, because it's going to come back later in the episode when we talk about checking the machine's work and why it's important. The second news item comes from Anthropic, the company that makes Claude. And this is an example of them emphasizing kind of the opposite direction. And I really love it. Claude and Anthropic have been doing that type of co-work or work, automated work, for a while, but they introduced a feature called Reflect. So instead of getting the AI to do more for you, Reflect helps you step back and look at how much you've been using it and for what. And here's the part that really interested me. It will actually ask you questions. One of them, straight from their announcement, is, what's one thing you want to keep doing yourself, even if Claude could do it faster? So you can set quiet hours, or you can set the AI so that it will nudge you to take a break if you work on it too long. And you can control how addictive or alluring the AI is. They said that it's a new way to reflect on how you use Claude. So try to keep these in mind, kind of side by side as we go through this episode. One tool is eager to do more and more for you. Another tool is gently asking you to stay in charge of your own life. And that tension, how much to hand off and how much to keep for yourself or how much to use, is one of the important aspects of the four principles and its balance, and why they're built to help you navigate AI intelligently and ethically and efficiently. So let's get back into the four fours. So a quick reminder for anyone that's just joining, or if it's been a while since you listened, this season I'm focusing on my Simplifying AI method of teaching everyday users how to understand and use AI effectively and ethically. And currently we're walking through what I call the four fours, the basic four, the simple frameworks that make up my whole approach to AI. The four tools, the four levels, the four principles, and the four domains. And those are the four fours. In episode 45, we focused on the tools, and you can go back and listen to that if you haven't. The what of our AI work, I guess you could say. In episode 46, we focused on the levels, how deeply you want to go or you can go. Today is the third four, what I call the four principles, and this is the one kind of closest to my heart because it's not about the technology, really. It's about us, or it's about you. It's the how you think about AI. So if the tools are the car and the levels are how far you're going, the principles are what makes you a good driver. The first principle is the idea of the ESCT cycle. It's a loop, and the idea is that to get good at AI, you have to experience it, of course. But as you experience it, you develop skills, whether you intend to or not, whether someone's labeled them or not. So experience leads to skill. And every time you do that, you start to build your confidence. This makes sense. This is the way learning works in most fields. Experience leads to more skills. Together, they lead to more confidence. And with more confidence, you can move to more advanced experiences. The difference is that as you go through the ESC, you start to develop what's called taste. And AI taste is the understanding of what is good and bad in AI, what you should and shouldn't do, what we should vote for and against. It is the overall deep understanding of what's going on in your own use of AI. And understanding taste is the main point of this first principle. So this principle is really, really important, and that's why it's listed first. The second principle is directly connected to it, and it's the idea of a growth mindset or leveling up. If you remember from the past episode, the four levels, we want to try to continue to move forward and to grow and get better at AI because AI is advancing very rapidly. So if we don't, then we're going to end up simply falling behind based on the fact that we don't continue to grow. So as I go through the years in teaching people, I'll have to adjust my four levels and what they include because AI is getting better and better at helping people do things. So this idea of the growth mindset is really, really important. And if you remember the news segment, the two features I described earlier didn't really exist in that form just a little while ago. The free tool got smarter overnight. So even if you don't level up, AI is going to advance. And so you really want to try to keep leveling up so that you, at minimum, keep pace. So this is, in my opinion, good news. And the reason is that we need to be nudged to move forward in order not just to be more productive, but also to understand what's going on with AI. Because our voting decisions and our local discussions on how much it should be a part of schooling and things like that are connected. Now, the third principle is perhaps the biggest one. And so it is the idea of being an ethical skeptic, or to be skeptically ethical. You can reverse the words all you want, but ethical skepticism is the idea that we need to refrain from trusting AI. I do not trust AI. I don't tell anyone that they should trust AI. You have to have different degrees and levels of confidence, and you have to believe in different models more than others, but to trust the AI companies is a mistake. And the analogy I use is I'm a big fan of government. I'm very grateful that I have a strong police force here in Sturgeon Bay, and we have a good fire department, and people take care of the streets, and they pick up the garbage, and I pay my taxes, and all those things, and all the way up to the federal government as well. But I'm not going to trust the government the way I trust, my children or my wife. We should always be skeptical and then cultivate our own ethics, because if we don't, then other people will. So we want to use AI intelligently, but we do not want to give up our critical thought. We want to make sure that we choose the models that align with our values. So for example, I like Anthropic. I use Gemini because it's so embedded in schools. I'm always a little nervous with OpenAI, but I think it's a little bit more reliable. I do not like SpaceX or Grok. Personally, I don't like their priorities. So we make decisions and then we choose which ones we want to trust. But we should always remain an ethical skeptic. The last principle is about agency. And in the AI world, it's called HITL, or human in the loop. So for the everyday user, it's absolutely essential that if we're going to continue on with that driving metaphor, that we keep our hands on the wheel, that we always accept responsibility for everything that we create with AI, and that means that we have to check it. And so if we stay in the process and we keep humans at the center of the process, we're going to have a much better relationship with AI and get better results. And this gets more and more complicated as we start talking about the role of AI in government and schools and things like that. And that makes it all the more essential that we stay in charge, that we keep a human in the loop, that we accept responsibility for all of the stuff that we make with AI, and that we're careful. So HITL, human in the loop, we're always in charge and we're always responsible. Okay, so your assignment for this episode, if you want to do it, is a small one. This week, the next time you use an AI tool, I want you to try to catch something that it got wrong or that you think might be misleading, something that's perhaps fuzzy or you're not sure of. And then I want you to try to take that detail or that fact, and I want you to double check it with a different model. So if you're working in OpenAI's newest ChatGPT model and you're gathering information, if something is either confusing or you're not sure, you can take that output, copy it, and go over and open the free version of Claude or Gemini and tell it that you are working with ChatGPT and you wanted to closely analyze and check these results, looking for not only errors, but also potential weaknesses, and see what you get. It's a really good practice to stay on top of the AI and make sure that you're checking it. Now, usually you won't find errors in two of the modern models. So this will help you identify possible errors or possible problems, but that doesn't mean it's foolproof. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I'd love to build these habits, but I don't want to do it alone, that's exactly what I do. That's why I'm here. You can find me at simplifyingai.net and send me a note if you want to be a part of a small weekly discussion group, or if you want some specific instructions, some specific mentoring, let me know. Next week, we're going to finish this part of the series with the fourth and final four, called the four domains. And these are the different areas in which we work and how they're different, your personal life versus your learning versus your job versus creativity. And it's pretty straightforward and simple, but there's just a lot of potential there. So it's kind of a fun one. And remember, you can send me a question at any time on simplifyingai.net. Thanks for hanging out with me. Once again, I'm Brett. This is Simplifying AI, and I look forward to talking to you again next time.